y'all, what's up? It is your girl Kelly. We're back with another video, you guys. So if you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on my video and giving the channel a chance, guys. I hope you will hit subscribe if you feel inclined to do so. I guarantee you will not regret it. We get into several different things on this channel: politics, news, true crime, all of that good stuff. So just join me if you would. I'm trying to reach a goal. You guys can be a part of that. You know, that's it's a beautiful thing. And if you are returning, you've been here before, you interact with the channel, you guys know that y'all are so appreciated, and I'm very thankful for each and every one of you guys. So today we're going to be getting into quite the tragic story, and I'm going to try to, keep it light as possible, because this is a very serious and disturbed crime that was committed against these individuals that you see on the screen here, two of which were actually murdered. The woman in the middle is Kenyatta Barron, and she was the mother of these two children. And then the little girl you see on the screen is Rontavia Oneal, who was also murdered by her father. And then the little boy you see is Ronnie Oneal the fourth, who his father tried to murder him, but thank God was unsuccessful in doing so. But will forever be traumatized and affected by what his father did. So, guys, today we're going to be getting into the case of Ronnie Oneal, and basically we're going to talk about what he did to his family and the disgusting piece of shit garbage that he is. And we're going to get into some of the trial footage that that happened a couple years back, or a few years back, I guess you could say. This was out of Florida. And if you guys thought that the Waukesha murder trial was bad, which it was, if you guys thought that that was, very despicable behavior from a defendant who decided to represent themselves, then just buckle your seatbelt, because you're in for quite the shock with this one. Because, I mean, not only I feel his, obviously the loss of life is not, you cannot equate like one is more meaningful than the other, but I feel like there are certain crimes that, like this, where a man kills his family, his flesh and blood. You can kind of say without a shadow of doubt that there's some bad energy that goes along with that. So, just warning you guys, the behavior, if you're not familiar with this case, the behavior that he displayed was truly despicable, and so just be prepared for what you're going to see. So, let's start off with a little bit of background on this family. Okay, so Ronnie Oneal, which I will try to be referring to him as least, as less as possible during the course of this video, and just refer to him as the killer that he is. But just so we can clarify, there's Ronnie Oneal, who is the father of these two children, and the mother of these two children is Kenyatta Barron. And just to give you a glimpse on how narcissistic Ronnie is, he named both of his children with this woman after himself. So the daughter is named Rontavia, I believe it is. I don't want to mispronounce her name. Ronivia, I'm sorry. Ronivia Oneal, who was 9 years old at the time of this crime that was committed against her. Kenyatta Brown was 33 at the time. And his son, he named Ronnie Oneal the fourth, who we'll just be calling him Ronnie Jr. throughout the course of these videos, which I think it's going to be a two-parter, because I don't want to spend too much time on this disgusting piece of shit like we did, spent a good little time with the Waukesha trial, because it's not only is it just too disturbing and too I don't know, just gives me bad vibes, but I felt it was important to come and cover this case because of the horrific things that were done to this family, and in honor of the survivor in this case, Ronnie Jr. This will hopefully, shed some positivity, and we're all going to be praying, or at least I will. I can't say what you guys are going to do, but I know I pray for this family after learning what it was they went through, and just, it's truly horrific. So we're going to get into it, guys. Excuse me. So again, this was out of Florida, and at the time of the that this crime actually happened, it was through a chance of fate that Ronnie, the murderer, was actually staying in this home with this woman, Kenyatta, and her two children, because they were not actually together. They were in sort of an on again, off again type of situation. He had been in and out of trouble. Nothing like too serious, I guess you could say. He had been arrested for a couple like weed charges. I believe he had like a DUI. Just basic things. Nothing that would immediately cause concern and make you think that this would be a violent psychopathic killer. But nevertheless, I'm sure he was in and out of trouble, and based on what I've seen so far of him, I'm sure he was an absolute nightmare to deal with. So, but Kenyatta was kind enough to allow him to stay at her home after in 2017 he got into a near fatal drive-by shooting, and he was injured pretty badly by this. And she, being the kind person that she is, and this being the father of her child, allowed him to stay there. So I'm sure there was plenty of arguments and, harsh words and things like that, which is normal for people, who've had long-term relationships, but I don't think she actually knew what she was getting herself into at the time that she agreed to this. So, on March 18th of 2018, Kenyatta and Ronnie, the murderer, got into an argument over apparently some sort of religious disagreement. And a lot of this, what we know about what transpired after this disagreement, is actually from Ronnie Jr. So, like I said, thankfully he actually survived this attack, but the story that he would go on to tell would shock and horrify pretty much anyone who would actually go on to hear it. So they were at their home that evening, got into a fight, and it escalated to the point that eventually, Kenyatta felt that she was in fear for her life. At some point during the altercation, the murderer had actually gotten a hold of his shotgun and was chasing her around the house with this weapon, threatening her and acting as if he had quite literally a mental break from reality. I mean, this is probably what was going through her head at the time, because why would the father of your children be trying to kill you? I mean, the only explanation is that he was quite literally, out of his mind. But nevertheless, he still was cognizant of what he was doing, and he was still in his right enough mind to be able to then go on and defend himself in court. So let's not play like he was that crazy. I mean, people can have breaks, mental breaks from reality, and still be perfectly competent and perfectly sane. So I just want to get that clear. So at some point, Kenyatta decided to try to hide herself and try to basically save her own life, because she could obviously see that this man was really trying to kill her. So she took cover in one of the bedrooms, trying to hide in one of the closets, and was basically trying to call out for her children to protect themselves. And at the same time, Ronnie, the murderer, was trying to call out to his son to come into the room where he had actually, confronted Kenyatta. He found her in the bedroom where she was hiding, and, he called for his son to come in there, disgustingly enough, trying to involve his son and traumatize him forever, which I believe he was absolutely successful of. And throughout this struggle, he ends up shooting her in the home one time in the shoulder. And once Ronnie Jr. Is finally, brought into the bedroom, I'm sure terrified out of his mind. This is his father. Excuse me, guys. This is his father, who's now shot his mother and is attacking everyone in the home, including the two children. So I'm sure his, brain was probably not even knowing what to do. Like his, fight or flight senses, I'm sure, had come into play at that point, and he was just listening to his father, you know, trying to survive as well, you know. So his father instructed him to take a hold of the gun, a shotgun, and he wanted him to shoot his own mother. And it's unclear whether or not when he put the gun in his son's hand, if it actually discharged and injured Kenyatta. But nevertheless, during this you know conversation, or during this exchange that was happening between the two of them, at some point Kenyatta was actually able to get up and run again out of the bedroom to try to save her own life, and she was actually able to make a 911 phone call, to try to get somebody to come and help, because she could see that where this was going. So I'm gonna go to that 911 call now, guys, and we're just gonna listen to a few seconds of it. But I do want to warn you guys that it is very graphic, and the audio, it's not obviously no video, but the audio is very hard to listen to. So if that's not something that you typically enjoy, or not enjoy, but that's not something that you want to listen to, and that is not something that you want to be exposed to, then I would suggest clicking off the video or fast forwarding about a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up, and we will play that audio where she had run out of the bedroom at this point, and she was basically trying to get someone, either a neighbor or the police, to come and help her. And unfortunately, this is what transpired next.
10 seconds.
What you hear in the background is the fire alarm going off.
Where's the gun? Who did this?
Okay, guys, I'm going to stop it right there because it is just so disturbing and just heartbreaking to listen to this woman sit here and plead for her life from the man that she thought she could trust, the man that she had 2 children with. And not only was she fearing for her own life, but the life of her 2 children. So I'm going to read this to you guys. This is basically not really a transcript, but it is more of a description of what exactly was happening during this time, because it is a little hard to hear. The audio is muffled. So this is from heavy.com. Okay. Let's see. On March 18th, 2018, at approximately 11:43 p.m., the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center received a 911 call from an unknown female caller. During the call, the female caller repeatedly pleads for help and tells the dispatcher that she's been shot. When asked where she was, the caller provided a partial address of 1234. When an unknown male can be overheard in the background yelling, Allah Akbar, which is I don't even know. Listen. Anyways, the female caller apparently states, "I'm so sorry, Ronnie," with loud screaming coming from the same female. An unknown male in the background can be overheard stating, "She killed me," and then directed a supposed neighbor, "Don't come outside. Call 911 now." The female can no longer be heard from, and the 911 call ends shortly thereafter. So at approximately 11:51, which was after her phone call was ended, probably by him after he had finished killing her, another 911 call is received by HCSO dispatch from an unknown male caller. The caller states, "I've just been attacked by some white demons. He then states, "Her name is Kiki, and she tried to kill me, and I just killed her." The caller then provided an address of 13248 Pike Lake, Dr. Gibsonton, Florida. Dispatch asked if the caller if Kiki tried to attack him, and his response was, "Yes, she tried to kill me." The phone call then disconnects. This phone number was later confirmed by Detective Royale as belonging to the defendant. At approximately 11:49 p.m., patrol deputies arrived on scene and found a black adult female lying in the front yard of the residence located at the address, and as they began to render aid to the female, the Hillsborough County Fire Rescue also arrived on scene. In order to continue with medical assistance to the female victim, as they were doing so, they observed what they believed to be a fire starting within the residence. Okay, so basically, picking up with the story from here, after Kenyatta was able to run from the room and get on the phone with 911, the murderer pursued her outside into the front yard, as it discusses here. And he then proceeds to beat her with the butt of a shotgun rifle and struck her multiple times until she basically was dead and had stopped moving. And there were neighbors who witnessed this outside conflict. There were people who were trying to help, and he was screaming at different people. This had spilled over outside of the house at this point. So there were concerned individuals who were trying to help, and there was basically no one who would be able to intervene unless they were going to be able to do so with the force of the police, because the neighbors were probably terrified at this point as well. They're witnessing a man, their neighbor, beat his spouse, his partner, to death in the front yard of their neighborhood. So once the police got there, and also after he got done doing that, before the police arrived, he then decided to go back into the house where his two children were still inside, and he grabbed a hold of Ronnie Oneal, who is his daughter, and he dragged her into her bedroom. And at some point while he was outside, he had gotten a hold of an axe, and so he dragged her into her bedroom, and he proceeded to use this axe on his own daughter, striking her in the head and in the back multiple times until she was deceased. He then proceeded to pour gasoline and other fire starting chemicals, or I'm not sure if it was just strictly gasoline, but he doused her body and her room with gasoline and lit the match and lit the room on fire and closed the door. And then it is at this point that he turns his attention to Ronnie Jr., who I'm sure at this point is absolutely terrified and does not know what to do by any means. He just witnessed his mother and his sister being murdered and probably thought that he was going to be next. And when you're 8 years old, you don't have a concept of trying to run away, because your parents are supposed to be the ones that you can trust. And being that he had just witnessed the most horrific thing that you can ever experience coming from your own parent, I'm sure he was just completely paralyzed with fear, not knowing, if your father can do this to you, what is the outside world going to do to you? So he was able to grab hold of Ronnie Jr. He had him lay down on the floor and attempted to douse him with more gasoline, and basically lit another match to burn his son alive, basically. So at some point, though, Ronnie Jr. was actually able to get up and run away from his father to try to, at this point, save his own life. And unfortunately, he ran into the kitchen. His father pursued him not too far behind, and he proceeded to then stab his own son in the abdomen and try to murder him in that way. So it is around this time of the stabbing of his own son, and the two fires were burning inside of the house. One in little Renivia's room, and then one in the living room. And so the cops arrived to the scene with a dead woman outside in the front yard, Kenyatta Barron, and a fire starting inside of the house. And it is at this point that they see the garage door beginning to open. And out steps Ronnie Jr., who they can see is as a young child, and he looks like he has been burned. And you could also clearly see that he had been disemboweled. Some described it as being disemboweled, but he had been stabbed in the abdomen and needed obvious medical attention. So they were able to, get Ronnie Jr. at that point and had to take him away from the scene because of the fire hazard. So they had to take him basically down the street to give him medical attention. So next I want to show you guys this, let's see. I want to show you all this video of the inside of the house, basically. The scene, okay? Let me see, which one is it? Okay. I'm not sure. I don't think this is it. I'm trying to show you guys the video of the scene. We're going to get into all of these videos as well. I believe... sorry, y'all. I think it's this one. Okay, here we go. So, just to give you guys a better picture of what it was that these, specifically Ronnie Jr., but what it was that the whole family had to endure during this brutal attack by this disgusting creature. This is a little bit of what the scene looked like upon arrival.
Investigator who said the fire was no accident. It was intentionally set. Just a day earlier, Oneal's son took the stand and told the jury.
Gun. I mean, just look at that gun. I mean, he broke, and if you guys have ever owned or know anything about shotguns, the fact that he was able to do this by beating this woman to death with it, it is unbelievable. This gun is broken in half. The wood has been cracked. I mean, the barrel is no longer attached to the gun. And I'm going to show you guys another picture of the actual, they displayed the barrel inside of the courtroom. But this is really chilling. I mean, it gives you an idea of the brute force and the sheer, just anger that was inside of this subhuman piece of shit that night and what he did to his family.
The jury about the trauma and
the knives everywhere, all over the floor, and the blood. I mean, this is where his son was stabbed, and it looked like he had dumped out all of the little tray, the knife tray. Just
horror he survived 3 years ago.
I just saw my dad holding a shotgun and my mom
Okay, guys, so we're going to get into his testimony because this brave little boy testified against his father during this trial, which will be the main portion of the second video, the second part of this this case. And so we're going to get into that more in depth during the next video. So I do want to go back to his opening statements, and I want to let y'all see how he was actually conducting himself during the time of this trial. And if you guys, like I said, if y'all thought that that the Waukesha guy was bad, okay, just wait. Just wait until you see this animal. So fucking creepy.
The evidence is going to show. Oh
my God.
That we are under some of the most vicious.
I just want to say, imagine you're you're just a regular, person who is sitting in on this case, doing your job there at the courthouse, or even the judge, or even just somebody who is watching this trial go on, and maybe you're not looking up at the scene, like at where the lawyers present their case. I mean, just imagine hearing this man begin his case. This is the first words that he utters as part of his opening statement, and screams so loudly and so forcefully, and just with such, like, I don't know, it's like this horrible energy behind his voice. And I mean, I would be terrified. Honestly, it terrifies me even sitting here watching this. And then the face that he put on throughout this entire proceedings, except there's a few circumstances where he didn't, but it's like he was putting on a show. And this is why I have, like, this ick feeling about allowing defendants to do this, especially ones that are going to act the way that these guys, specifically, we're talking about Ronnie Oneal here. So, I mean, where do you draw the line with something like this? Because I feel like they're doing it to gain notoriety, and because they know that their life is over, and this is the only way that they can get their last kicks, because they're sociopaths and they don't care about what they truly have done. In this case, this disgusting person who took out his entire family, almost, with the except for his son, which, God willing, was able to cover and protect that baby that night. And this is what he chooses to do. It's despicable. I mean, I just don't know how. I don't know. We have to improve this process, because I feel like there's going to be more and more of this as, people kind of learn from these freaks that they can defend themselves and just make an utter spectacle of the court proceedings, because they know they're going away for life anyways, or they're going to go to get the death penalty. So it doesn't really matter. Their defense doesn't really matter. When it's an open and shut case, this is all they have that they can do. And I think that shouldn't be allowed in those circumstances. The volume kind of got wonky. I don't know what happened, guys. Not me. Sorry.
Fabricating fictitious government you ever seen. By the time it's all said and done, you will see who is the mass murderer. In Tampa Bay, the state of Florida. You will know why what occurred on March 18, 2018 occurred.
'Cause you're a psycho?
And the evidence is going to show
That you killed your family?
that law enforcement
Huh?
tampered with evidence to meet their such high burden of proof.
Oh, is that right?
Because originally, it wasn't enough. So we had to tamper with evidence.
So apparently having the statement, the eyewitness statement of your own son, as well as 911 calls from the deceased victim, wasn't enough evidence, guys. And him actually exiting the scene covered in blood, and all of the other physical evidence, I'm sure they were able to piece together, but were probably unneeded, because I think they had a pretty solid case. So I'm not sure what you're going on and on about, but that's I mean, you could say that about any of the statements that you make, 'cause you're utterly nonsensical and just overall dirtbag human. So I want to skip forward a little bit, guys. Let me see.
Evident already,
Uh-huh.
but we still
Let me just find
had
the
to
spot.
tamper with evidence.
believe it's about right here.
Final command to keep her alive when she was on life support. When she was born, 2 pounds, 2 ounces, and couldn't breathe on her own. It was me who fought to keep her alive. But all of a sudden, I just want to take her life.
He's talking about his daughter. He's talking about his daughter here. Okay, so I think I went a little bit too far, but he's basically saying that whenever his daughter was born, that it was him who fought to keep her alive and to not just allow her to basically die because she was born with complications. This little girl had autism. She had cerebral palsy. She was non-verbal. So at the time of her murder, she needed a lot of help, and she was a disabled child who couldn't even speak or cry out for help or plead, Daddy, please don't do this. I mean, it just... And then now he's trying to say, so if I did all that, what reason would I have to kill her? Sir, what reason do you have for any of your actions that you did that night? He tried to claim that it was out of self-defense. So, I'm sorry, and that he was trying to protect his children from their mother. So, I think he's going to get into it, but I want you guys to hear the words from his mouth. Fix your face.
Certain justifiable homicide. Because I acted in self-defense and moved to protect myself and my children.
By killing them. Okay.
From Kenyatta Barron.
From their mother. Okay. Yeah. You're fucking done, dude. You're going straight to hell.
I'm going to be showing with evidence several reasonable reasons to doubt the state's allegations against me.
Several reasonable reasons. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So, what do y'all think about these claims? And do y'all believe that he was acting in self-defense? I mean, do these sound like the actions of a man who's trying to protect, might I add, he used the word protect, his own children from their mother who was trying to kill them? So what, you just wanted to beat her to the punch? She was trying to kill you all? You decided that you're going to just do it instead? I mean, what is the logic? There is none. There's absolutely no logic here. Everything that he is saying is just nonsensical and utter fiction. And it should never honestly have been allowed to go on. This judge, there were stark differences in the way that they had litigated these, or not litigated, but, been the judge. I guess it would be, I don't know. Anyways, words. Y'all know what I'm saying. The judge in Waukesha I found was much more, and obviously they're different states, so the laws are different, but I found that she was much more, just... I want to say like warm in the process of this of the trial, as kind as she could be and as accommodating as she could be towards not only the defendant but everyone in the courtroom. And he was required to sit at his desk, and he could not get up and walk around the actual area where they, the lawyers normally present their case. And she made that ruling for both sides, so they just sat at their tables the entire time. In this case, the judge is a little bit more, I think she just doesn't really know how to react. I mean, nobody would. This is just completely uncharted territory. But, the laws in Florida must be able to, must say that he must be able to get up and present his case and be able to walk around freely, because that's exactly what happened. So, he was all over the place. He was able to move around. She did not have as many, interruptions, I feel. Like, there were certain times where, I don't know, I just feel like it was just different. And you guys will see that once we get more into the trial. But I want to move on from this video now, and, let's see. Oh, yeah, I'm going to just do escape. 1 second. Okay, y'all. So now I want to show you guys a couple more things, and then we will get on out of here. And I would love to know you guys' thoughts so far. This is, like I said, it's pretty disturbing. His whole demeanor and just the fact that he doesn't appear to be sorry at all for what he did. So let's play this one.
Ronnie added that he is, quote, competent as can be, unquote, and that law enforcement is trying to make it seem as if he is, quote, some kind of menace to society, unquote. Ronnie shouted at one point during Monday's opening, quote, I look alone, but I am backed by a mighty God, unquote.
The evidence is going to show I look alone, but I am backed by a mighty God.
The devil?
Ronnie argued that his fighting spirit kept his disabled daughter alive when she was born with severe health conditions. The prosecutor presented Ronnie to the jury as an aggressive serial killer, whereas Ronnie showed the jury in sharp contrast that he was a loving and caring father.
When my daughter was born, it was me who gave the command to find the final command to keep her alive when she was on life support. When she was born, 2 pounds, 2 ounces.
Okay, so that's what I was just...
Shotgun was broken in half.
This was the other half of the shotgun. And I just fast forwarded because that's what kind of what we just went over, what he was saying about his daughter, and that he is taking all the credit for keeping her alive when she was born, because I'm sure her mother just wanted to kill her. Utter bullshit anyways, so we're not going to get into that again. I just wanted to play this to make sure that you guys could see the barrel of this weapon. It's not only bent, it has been separated from the stock of the shotgun. And this is really hard. I mean, this takes some effort to break this kind of weapon like this. I mean, and then, okay, so we're going to get into it. In all these videos, guys, that I'm playing for you guys, if you want the full context or to watch any of, anything that I might have skipped past, I will link all of that down below in the description. So just for your information. Okay, so I'm going to play this, and they're going to go on to talk a little bit about this and how he wanted to actually hold this gun during the trial.
Appears that the barrel portion of this is bent.
Look at that.
Ronnie Oneal wanted to hold the gun in his hands. However, neither the prosecutor nor the judge was comfortable with this.
Because I feel that's in everyone's best interest.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm not some convict. I'm innocent until proven
I know,
guilty.
Mr. Oneal, and I assume that as well, but
Right, but y'all treat me like you don't know that.
During the trial, several first responders were called to testify. Donald Foster, one of the firefighters who helped battle the flames inside Kenyatta's home, said he found himself slipping on blood when he was inside. Foster was looking for Ronnie's young daughter, who the state said he killed with an axe. He told jurors he crawled to the back of the home and found the young girl. Foster said his goal was to get her out, and after he laid her in the front yard, he said she was unrecognizable.
And I don't remember if it was a deputy or a bystander came by and said that there's another child inside the house. And I realized that the floor was covered in blood. Everything in the room was on fire. So clothes, wall, ceiling. Once again, visibility was limited. I thought I had found a patient.
What did you do then?
Hugged my other firefighter and cried, to be honest with you.
There was a heartbreaking phase of
Jesus. I mean, I just can't imagine coming onto this scene and seeing what all of these people saw and having to witness this horrific act that this, I don't even want to say man, that this, I don't know, subhuman just piece of filth was able to do to his own family. So I think there was, this was the last thing I was going to show you guys. It's about, basically, was this the same thing that I just played? I'm sorry, I was just pulling everything. Okay, so this is kind of the same thing. I'll just play the first little part of this news clip, and then we'll cut it off from there, guys. I think this showed, like, the neighborhood. There was a reason. I pulled all this stuff, but it was just kind of, like, hard to organize it all because this wasn't available on Court TV like the other case was, so it was harder to find full trial clips, but we do have the full testimony of the victim's son, which we'll get into again in part 2. So let's just hear what they have to say in this video, and then we'll wrap
accused
it
of
up.
killing his girlfriend and their 9-year-old daughter in March of 2018. And he's also accused of stabbing his 8-year-old son, who survived and is expected to take the stand. But today we heard from the people who were there that day, and we got to warn you, how they describe what happened could be graphic and tough to listen to. Our Bo Zimmer is live outside the courtroom, where, Bo, it's been yet another emotional day inside.
Yeah, Ryan, I can tell you that much of today's testimony focused around those first responders and the urgency and confusion they faced dealing with a possible active shooter, a house fire, and multiple critically injured patients all at the same time. For the second straight day, Ronnie Oneal arrives in handcuffs to defend himself in his own capital double murder trial. The Riverview father charged with killing his girlfriend, Kenyatta Barron, and 9-year-old special needs daughter before stabbing his son and setting the house on fire. Tuesday, jurors watched cell phone video shot by a neighbor showing first responders arriving as Oneal's then 8-year-old son tries escaping the home.
He was staggering.
He was apparently severely injured.
Hillsborough firefighter EMT Donald Foster was one of the first inside the home, now filling with smoke and flames.
I found that I was slipping, which I couldn't figure out why, because I hadn't applied a lot of water. So I ducked down to the ground to try to see exactly what I was slipping on, and I realized that the floor was covered in blood.
At one point, he described finding Oneal's 9-year-old daughter covered in burning debris. She was rushed outside, but it was too late.
It was beyond recognition as far as anything other than just a body at that point. Hugged my other firefighter and cried, to be honest with you.
Paramedics turned their attention to Oneal's surviving 8-year-old son, who was badly wounded and burned. Lieutenant Veronica Vite transported the child to a nearby soccer field to be airlifted to Tampa General, but says she remembers him speaking before he was sedated.
I believe he said, my dad killed my mom or my dad shot my mom. It's one of the two statements that he made.
Wow. So guys, what do y'all make of this? I mean, is this beyond the scope of anything that you could have ever thought imaginable? Because it is definitely for me. This is probably, just seeing courtroom footage of how he presented himself and how he disrespected literally everyone. His own family, again, re-victimized them from the grave, and his own son, who was a survivor in this matter, and then took the time to actually make, traumatize the rest of the rest of the people in that courtroom and the people that watched this spectacle go on. I mean, just an utterly sick, deranged, and completely, just a loser of a person. So I would love to know you guys' thoughts on this case. And I want to, again, just pay respects to the victims in this case. We will be back with another part 2. But in the meantime, we're going to continue honoring these people's memory, these two lovely young ladies, and continue to keep this young man in our prayers, at least those of us who believe in that. I think that it would be a good thing to pray about, I mean, this is horrific in every sense of the word. So y'all let me know, guys, what you think of the case so far, and just what are it's hard to have words, honestly, after going through the details of this case. So yeah, guys, in the meantime, until we're back with this part 2, y'all take care, and try to, stay safe and in a good headspace as much as possible, and cherish your family, truly. And until next time, guys, I will see y'all later. All right, bye.